Good evening. Welcome back to our house, our home, our kitchen. This is round two for the Hillbillies virtual Zoom family dinner, and we're going to attack a couple of different things this time. I thought the first part was a fantastic success, and I hope this will be equally as successful. So you're going to have the menus in front of you and the recipes in front of you. We're going to attack the first course, which is going to be this warm, I put warm in quotes, a Parmesan cheese souffle with some green beans and some arugula. And then we're going to go with a potato crusted halibut with a sauce and some spinach and some shiitake mushroom. And then we're going to go with dessert, which is kind of a very, very typical French almond apple tart. So why don't we get going with the souffle. So we're going to have these ramekins. In this case, these are these aluminum ramekins. They're about 4 ounces. I like them. They're great. We use them at the Grove. We also use them at school quite a bit. You got a very traditional type of souffle ramekin, which you can use for this. And also, definitely got some mileage on this pan for sure. This is a typical cupcake pan, and you can use this as well. The beauty of this recipe is that we're not so concerned about the rising and the falling of the souffle. It's anticipated, so we're not to worry about the temperamental nature of a typical souffle. So let's go. Let's continue on. So as you can see, some of these molds have been buttered and coated with some Parmesan cheese. So all I'm doing is taking the mold right here with my impeccably clean hands and fingers. I'm taking some cold butter or room temperature butter and buttering this rather extensively. You could also use a brush if you wanted to. Oop. Okay. Then we're going to take some Parmesan cheese that has been grated. That's some of the extra cheese. That looks like a lot, but it's going to come out. That's part of the extra cheese in the recipe, not part of the 3/4 of a cup for the souffle itself. So we just want to coat this, tap a little bit of, so we make sure we get it coated really, really well. Okay, there's 6. This recipe will probably make these 6. It might make a little bit more, might make a little bit less, but certainly more than enough for the 2 or 3 or 4 of you that are going to be joining on this dinner. The ingredients couldn't be any simpler if you think about it. Butter, flour, milk, egg yolks, the Parmesan cheese, and some egg whites. So again, pretty simple ingredients. I think there's definitely a fear when somebody says, oh, let's make a souffle, that there's this incredible, oh my God, this is going to be way too traumatic to make. I'm trying to dispel the myths and the rumors about how difficult this really is to do. So let's take care of business. What we're going to do is butter goes in. I want to make sure that's melted completely. And it doesn't really matter so much if it's salted butter or unsalted butter. If it's unsalted, you have a little bit more control over the salt that you put in the dish. But I actually like salted butter. We'll end up putting a little more salt and pepper in the recipe itself. Probably easy on the salt because Parmesan cheese can be a little on the salty side. Okay? Are you getting my good side again, Marie, or no? Okay, perfect. It's hard to get good help these days, you know. So, we're getting close. I'm going to try to follow the recipe as closely as I can so that I can follow my directions, and hopefully you'll be able to follow my directions as well. So, that's pretty well melted. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the flour all at once. And we're going to turn down the heat to maybe like a low heat. Give that a stir. And I'm going to cook that on low, maybe to medium heat for about 2 minutes. This right here is something that's called a roux, R-O-U-X. And it's a very, very classic thickening agent for soups, stews, stocks, etc., etc. Pretty much equal parts butter and flour, but it can also be a different form of fat as well. It's not that uncommon to actually utilize the rendered fat from the stock. So it could be a beef fat, a veal fat, pork, etc., chicken, to use as a roux and then use that into an accompanying dish. So what we're trying to do is cook out some of that raw taste of the flour. That's why we're cooking this for about maybe 2 minutes or so on the stove. We can at this point make believe it's been 2 minutes through the magic of television and of course YouTube. And then what we'll do is with a whisk we'll start adding the milk. Oh my God, that was a balancing act. All right, so a little bit at a time, get that slightly incorporated. Okay. Once that's mixed together, we can turn up our heat a little bit. We want to bring this to, at the very least, a simmer. Any starch-based thickener, like flour in this case, won't come to its full thickening capacity until it actually comes to a boil, until the liquid comes to a boil. So if you're using cornstarch or arrowroot, again, you got to make sure that your liquid comes to a boil. That will give you an idea of how thick your item really is. So we're going to take a little bit of salt and some pepper. Okay. A good pinch right there is fine. Some pepper. Now it is a white-based dish, right? So the souffle has got the milk in it. It's going to have Parmesan cheese in it. We could use white pepper if we wanted to. We didn't really want to see the pepper. I prefer the flavor of black pepper. So we'll go with that right there. As you can see, it's probably thickening up already. I'm not sure what I put in the recipe. I think something about 2 minutes, but I definitely mentioned you'll bring it to a boil. We should probably give this a taste. Very good. As you can see, it's definitely thickening up quite a bit right now. So we're getting very close to that boiling stage here. We should stir constantly. Maybe you can see, yeah, here's a couple of bubbles showing up right now. Okay. And also by cooking a little bit longer on the stove right here, we're also cooking out some of that raw taste of the flour as well in the beginning and also while we've got the liquid in there. All right, I think we're good. So we're going to turn that off. I'm going to take this mixture and go over here to this bowl. Okay. Okay. Now this is still pretty hot. So I suggest we put in the Parmesan cheese first. That's the 3/4 of cheese that I mentioned earlier in the recipe. That's going to go in. That'll cool down the mixture a little bit and make it a little bit easier for us to put in the egg yolk. So 2 egg yolks right off the bat. Okay, so they're incorporated. All right, that's great. Great. So we'll let that cool down just a little bit. That's still pretty warm. Then what we'll do is we're going to take the egg whites, we're going to whisk those up, either, again, as I mentioned in the recipe, either with a machine or by Armstrong. And then we'll fold part of those egg whites in with the souffle base mixture. All right, and we'll be back to do that in just a second.